Hello, everyone. Welcome. Today, we're going to talk about some great things that are going to encourage you in your walk with Jesus, in your walk with the Lord. And we need some encouragement. We need some understanding of how to respond to some of the things going on in the world today. Of course, we're entering into election time. That'll kind of date this. This time we have together. People know when we were talking about, but maybe that helps because they can reflect on if they listen to it months from now, they can reflect on where we were at this time. But anyway, we're in election time. Interesting enough that immigration, the border, seems to be in some places the number one concern for people. And that's good because that is a concern. But for my concern to have my concerns of the Iraq is entering into uh, basically the war in the Middle East without declaring war. I don't think they want to declare war because, as I said at another time, they know they'll lose. They can't win against a full out war. But it's not off the table either. And so the skirmishes in Yemen and that it is escalating, but we're sort of hardened to it because we've had the war in Ukraine for a while now and over a year now, and then the Middle East war with Israel and the terrorists. Uh, and all that in the Palestinians. That's been going on long enough that we get a little desensitized to it. And now when the escalation starts with Iraq, we're sort of desensitized. Okay, so a few more rockets were shot off or whatever. But that is a concern of mine. And you that listen to me already know I'm concerned what might happen in Taiwan with Taiwan and China. So there's plenty to worry about if we want to worry, but we're not going to worry. We're going to think of it a different way because worry doesn't change anything, right? Worry might make us more afraid, more worrisome, but it doesn't produce God things. It doesn't produce good things. Worry is not a good motivator. And so and so today we want to talk about where can we go with the things that we're seeing in the world. Elections, maybe it went the way you wanted it, maybe it won't go the way you wanted it to, and all the different things. Crime is rising. Even in our own neighborhood here, we have a rise in crime. Not my where I live, but in the area, we have a rise in crime. And so I want to talk to you about that a little bit. I want to see where we started our new time at 12 instead of 12:20 last week. So I noticed most weeks they got people waiting and they come on. Right now, Zion, the new time has got them confused. I don't see our regulars yet. So I'm stalling just a little bit. I guess I can talk to myself here or those that'll. I do get notices later, Zion, that people are watching later. Yeah, and they say I'm watching late, and so they'll all get this kind of stuff, and you will too if you watch it again later. Come on. But those that come on live in just a few minutes, you might miss some of these opening statements. Maybe they're not worth too much, but we also have other things that go on, like talking about Sweden. Sweden is very concerned with their military because they want to enter NATO with us and other countries, and also Finland, right on the border of the of Russia. Zion, there is no Soviet Union in your lifetime, I don't think. So, on the border of Russia, and there's concerns there. Uh, the economy is really concerning to those who know, and even the people who have lots of money are right concerned right now. So there's lots to be concerned about, but there's lots to be considered when we consider the kingdom of God and consider who we are, who we're going to be, and what do we do in situations like this. All right. So I still don't see anybody's on. Come on, get with it. Okay, they're coming then. Yeah, okay. Well, you're coming. I know it's a new time, so our regular crowd and those are, and so I won't stall anymore. I'll start, but because we kind of have a schedule on our end too today. But anyway, so what do you do in these times? The economy, the threat of wars and escalation, inflation. Uh, we don't. I like I told you before, for years and years I never did any grocery shopping because I didn't have time for one thing, and why would I? But as time changes, before settled down in the pandemic and life changed, and I hope it changes back where I don't have time to shop for groceries again. Um, but with that in mind, I've gotten more involved. So anyway, yesterday we decided to have groceries delivered, and we've had it a few times, And Kathy gives me the her phone and my phone, and I'm supposed to look at the list, and so he did. And then after that, then we looked at how much we're spending, and we looked at what we got and what we were doing. It didn't seem like we were buying the big stuff. Like we didn't buy a bunch of steaks and big heavy stuff, just stuff. And I don't even want to say what it was. Um, but it was higher than we expected, and we're going. And actually, here's what Kathy actually said to me. She said, because it wasn't for us. She said, "How do other people make it, or how do they keep not getting discouraged? Like, how far is this going to go?" And it's going to keep going, and it's going to get. Uh, I'm not going to say it's going to get worse, but um, there are things that are in compliance with this, like electric car push, which isn't quite working out, and and trying to get rid of our stoves or gas stoves, all this other stuff that's going on that's causing prices to rise, and so on and on we could go about that. All right, see my guys here, and Nathan and Jeremiah and John are on, and others will be coming on now. But anyway, so with all that going on, rather than worry, what do we do? How do we think? All right. Well, and let's see. I'm sorry. Oh yeah, Beth. Hi, Beth. So with all this going on in the world today, what do we do? What's our attitude? Well, I've been studying, as you know, that we're putting together a book. Pastor JD and I, King, are putting a book together, and it's got about, I don't know, 17 or 18 chapters, and he's doing about half of it. I'm doing about half of it, and I'm finishing it up. Hi, Jennifer. And so as we've been putting this together, I've obviously been studying Gideon again and again and again, because that's the foundation of the book, is Gideon and what happened with him, and going to the river and defeating the Midianites. And so as we move along, we get past one of the main focuses of the book, is how do you drink, and how they drink, and how the 300 got picked. But once you get past that, now Gideon has his 300, and God is so compassionate on him, because now he's telling him, we're going to defeat them, and this is how we're going to do it, and all that. But then he says to this, but if you're still afraid, or if you're still terrified, or if you're still, hi, Anne Marie, good to have you on today. Excited to see you soon. Going to see you soon. Working out the details here. And so afterwards, God is so compassionate, because everything's done. He's got the army. Basically, it's time to just do it. But God says to him, look, if you're still afraid or still terrified, do this. Take some people or some guys, and creep down at night. It's nighttime, down to the enemy's camp. Go down to the edge of the enemy's camp. And so he does. But the instructions are so good, because he says, if you are, then get up and go. Get up and go, and do it now. And that's one of the main points that I had to make in the book, is do it now, because what's going to happen is he's going to get up, he's going to go down to the enemy's camp, or the edge of it, and he's going to overhear a dream. And the dream, at the conclusion, the guy tells his dream. In the conclusion, they interpret it and say, this is nothing other than Gideon. And Gideon, this means Gideon's going to come, and we're going to be defeated. And he's, by Gideon's army, or however many he's got. And so they come to that conclusion. And so Gideon had to be there at the right time, at the right very moment, that somebody, and he had to be in the right place, that somebody was interpreting a dream back to him that says, we believe we're going to lose. We're going to lose because of this, what the dream tells us. Now, the point being is, when God said, get up and go to the camp of the Midianites, and listen, if you need more encouragement, he had to do it then. He had to go now. Go. Do it now. And I wrote in the book too somewhere that there's this. I think on Christians there's a spirit of hesitancy. We're very hesitant, at least here in this country or in the Western world. We're very hesitant. We're very cautious. Um, I was explaining to someone. Maybe I told you this story before, but I'll tell it anyway. Uh, about when I was first starting out, my first few years of the full-time ministry. I'd already worked at the church, Methodist Church, for a year. Now that's over, and I'm in the full-time traveling ministry. And we're just getting started. We're learning our way. We're meeting people. And there was a lady that kind of took me under her wing, and had great thoughts for me and great encouragement about the anointing is upon you. There's an anointing upon you, and so that's good. But anyway, so she's 80 years old or more, 80 years old. Uh, she was born blind. Zion, you remember if I've told this story before? Maybe you know this story. Okay. Anyway, then I'll press it a little more. She's 80 years old. She was born blind. Okay. And so this has been some years ago. She was born blind and she was healed. She got healed I think as a child, as her blindness. Never got married, served the Lord her entire life. Then in the 1950s, uh, when the healing revivals were breaking out, revival hit her church. Her church was open uh, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. I was trying to remember, I'll have to look it up exactly, like for 5 or 6 years. And they would have cots at the behind the stage for the pastors or leaders if they wanted to take a break because they've been up a long time and just go and lay down and sleep and get back up and hit it again. 24 hours a day. And people were just astonished when we would tell them that we would have 5 days a week services, or even 4 in Kansas City. What? 4 days a week? 5? They did it 7 days a week for 5 years. 5 years, maybe 6. I'll have to look it up. And and it was deliverance ministries. It was healing, mostly healing and deliverance that went on there. Okay, so back to the lady. So I'm down there where I'm in her church. I'm ministering with the group, and oh, hey, Justin, good to see you. I was thinking about you the other day, and in fact, I mentioned you to somebody. I said, you heard from Justin. Good to see you. And so I was down there ministering. Catherine was with me, and anyway, one afternoon, I was in her home, and I didn't spend a lot of time. This is not a woman you just buddied up to, or hugged or anything. There was a distance about her because she had very piercing blue eyes since they've been healed by God from blindness, and very stern, very anointed, and you watched your step around her. She's a little scary, and but anyway, so I just happened to be in her home that day with something going on, and I hadn't been in her home very much. And one of her worker girls, young lady, she's an adult but younger, come bursting in the room and said, "Hey, this situation. I don't remember what it was. This situation's going on. Here's the situation, and we're trying to figure out what to do." And so this lady, the 80-year-old lady, told her what to do. Said, "Well, just do this," And the young lady said, "Aren't you going to pray about it?" And her answer was this: "No." "Why would I have to pray about it? I have the mind of Christ." She said, "Why? Why? I have the mind of Christ." And I never forgot that, because I realized you can develop the mind of Christ to where you know when you need to act and when you need to make changes and when you need to adjust your life. All right. So Gideon, then back to the story, Gideon. So Gideon's there. He's in his own camp. He's going to get to hear a dream that their dream says that the Midianites are going to be defeated by Gideon. So God says, if you want more encouragement, get up now. Get up and go to the camp of the Midianites, to the edge of it. And he did. So he had to do it now. You understand that. If he hadn't done it, then he had to have the mind of Christ, so to speak, in our day. He had to respond right now and go hear that dream. Had he waited, had he hesitated, if he said, it was nighttime, I want to sleep a little longer, or maybe I'm just going to sleep in, or I'm too nervous, I'm afraid to go to the camp at Midianites, or whatever, it wouldn't have worked. Okay, but it does. And so he goes, he hears the dream, whoopee, we're going to win. He goes back, and as soon as he gets to the camp, his own camp, where he's only got 300 guys now, God has whittled down the army to 300. And by the way, you notice they're going to defeat the Midianites in a very unusual way. That's why he had to have 300 that drank the same way, because they had to be unified, because they're going to have to go defeat. I don't know how we'd handle this. They're going to go defeat the Midianites with what? Right? Trumpets. So they had to have at least 300 trumpets, jars, and torches and shouting. All right? I don't hear any bows, spears, shields, none of that. And then after that, anyway, so I don't know how Gideon figured out that's what to do, but somehow God got it down to him. Do it this way. And hi, Darren. And so then so he goes back to the camp. Now, back up with me. So God says, if you want to hear this dream, or you want to get encouraged to hear the dream, get up and go right now. Get up and go. All right. So he does, and he hears a dream. He comes back. Now, guess what he does when he comes back? He repeats God's attitude, because then he tells the army of 300, if you can call them an army, trumpet blowers, he tells them, he says, get up and go. Get up now, for God has given the Midianites into our hands. And all 300, he's going to defeat him. He needs all 300. He needs all 300 trumpets and jars and torches. And they do. So he says, so he gets the order from God, get up, goes, comes back, and gives the order, now passes that same attitude along to the 300. And they do. They get up and they go. And of course, it's an amazing moment that Gideon divides them up into 3 companies, 100, 100, 100, and he spreads them out. So it's sort of like confusing, because they don't know how big this is. And then when he gives the order, he says, do exactly as I do. And so, they blow the trumpets, they bust the jars, they wave the torches, they shout for Gideon and the Lord and for Gideon, and the army scatters of Midianites, and then they turn on each other. They're so confused, they turn on each other. Okay? So we're talking, if you weren't here at the beginning, and some weren't, and some will hear this later, we've been talking about our world the way it is. Immigration is a big thing, and it played into, I heard a lot of the New Hampshire primary was immigration and the economy. Those two things apparently are the big stuff that are concerning people today. And then I brought in some other stuff. Iraq is getting involved in the war in the Middle East more and more every day. Will it go on? Will it stop? Will it escalate? There's no word on that. It would not be a good idea for them to go full blown war. They couldn't win it, but it would be a terrible tragedy if it was but anyway, it's escalating. China is escalating towards Taiwan. Sweden and Finland are both, Anne-Marie, Finland is, concerned about what will happen when you join NATO. And then Sweden, if you noticed, Anne, is upping and talking to their military about preparing. I don't know what they know that I don't know, but that's the case anyway. Anyway, there's all this going on. And it's easy to get disturbed. It's easy to get afraid. And Gideon could have easily been afraid. But God says, get up when I tell you to get up. And so the rule there so far is respond as God is telling you. Don't wait and be so hesitant. Now, hesitant is good. Getting wisdom is good. And if you don't feel like you have the mind of Christ, like my 80-year-old lady friend who took me under her wing, then of course, seek people who you believe do have the mind of Christ. But don't be surprised if some of them don't go off and pray for 3 days. They just tell you, because if they have the mind of Christ, they're going to know what's right. And you have to get that mind of Christ going in you, so you can start responding, because hold back, respond, go forward, get going, don't get going, stay where you are, or because of that, by the way, because of the hesitancy that is the spirit of being hesitant, nervous, is on the body of Christ in a lot of places. I find that a lot of times people know that they're know that something's not right, but they don't change anything. They don't say, what do I need to do to fix this? Or I need to change this, or I need to do this differently, or I need to get out of where I am or whatever. But anyway, so now where do we go from there? Well, another story. Okay, a Bible story. So to take that, the get up and go, right? We need to get up and go. And go doesn't mean I wrote this in the book I'm working on too. Uh, when God said get up and go, he didn't mean get up and leave. You see, and that's where people they hear get up and go, and for some it means they should leave. You know, there's people I don't know if I'll just share this with you, but I hear it all the time of people that are so dissatisfied with what's going on in their churches and even our own city. People come to me and say, "I tried this and this and that church, and they're all the same or whatever they do. They all have a kind of a formula, but they don't. But then they go back to what's not feeding them, to where they're not growing, to be uh, out of sorts, and uh, maybe I don't know, maybe it's a smaller church, and that they're happy there, they feel good, but they're not growing, they're not going. So there's hesitancy, there's wisdom too. I get that. Okay, but anyway, so Gideon had to have the get up and go to hear the dream. He had to come back and get his army to get up and go, and they did, and they won. Okay. Now, let's move ahead to the life of Jesus and the ministry of Jesus. Okay. And hi, Marilyn. And so Jesus then is walking through the city, crowds are everywhere. And we come up to the blind man, right? His name's Bartimaeus, blind man. And he hears that Jesus is passing by. Okay. And when he hears that Jesus, now I don't know what he heard about Jesus, but he knew something. He knew about him. And he knew a great revelation because he says this. He says, Jesus, son of David, have mercy on me. Now, we might hear the mercy part, but the fact that he used the title son of David was his personal recognition that this is the Messiah. See, the Messiah was through their history had a title of also of the son of David that would come. So when he says, Jesus, son of David, have mercy on me, he's actually separating himself from the rest of the crowd. Probably was noisy, lots of people yelling for his attention. But Jesus picks up on that. Well, before that, you may know the story. The people and disciples, shh, don't leave him alone. He's busy. And I don't think he planned on stopping. I don't think that was on his list that day, like his to-do list, stop by Bartimaeus and heal him. I don't think that was on it. He's going somewhere. He's passing by. But the recognition of who he was the thing that caught his ear. Because it wasn't just heal me, deliver me, have mercy on me. It was Jesus, son of David. And they try to quiet him down. But he does it even louder. Even louder. And son of David, have mercy on me. And Jesus stops. That got him. I like that. And that got him. And Jesus said, call him. Okay? Call him. So they do. They go over to him. And here's what they say to him. Because he's blind. He's a beggar. He's on a mat, And they say two words, first of all. Get up, cheer up. Get up, cheer up. And if those are the two words I wanted to give you today, maybe you're trying to get something from the Lord and you're trying to hear. There's a lot to be discouraged about. There's a lot to be worried. If you're a worrier, I wouldn't suggest it, but there's lots of things if you want to worry about them. But the word for the Lord I'm getting today is get up, cheer up. Okay? So that means there needs to be a response. And of course, he responds immediately, get up, and he gets up, and he's probably cheering up. He probably has a big smile on his face. And Jesus probably does too, have a big smile, because there's a connection here of recognition. So they say to him, get up, cheer up. Now, why though? And here's the words that you need to add to that, because we don't want you just to walk around cheery. Okay. We want you to have more than that. All right. Get up, cheer up. Now, this is in context of a world that's, I'd said on Sunday, I think as believers, we need to brace ourselves for in readiness, because the world is teetering right now on wars and trouble, crashes, economy, all those things. So there's a lot to be worried about. So the first part is get up and cheer up, okay? But why? Why should you get up? Why should you cheer up? And then the next line that they say to him, he's calling you. That's the reason. You know, it has nothing to do with your blindness anymore. You know, he's calling you. Okay, you're blind. Okay, that's a bad circumstance. Maybe you're in a bad circumstance. Maybe others, the world, the economy, inflation, groceries, right now, utilities. If you're in our area, you know utilities are going up fast. I mean, compared to last year, everything's kind of spinning out of control, even crime in our area and your area. But anyway, get up, cheer up. Why? Because in the midst of these storms, in the midst of inflation, in the midst of immigration, in the midst of the economy, in the midst of wars and rumors of wars and possibility, all the things that could go into being concerned, that's not what you're to look at. You get up and cheer up. Why? Because in the midst of all this trouble, he is calling you. And we need everybody we can get. We need everybody to get the mind of Christ. We need everybody to get their head on straight. We need everybody to stop letting their insecurities and their worries from the past and their mistakes from the past, or what everybody's going to think of me, and just do what's right. Do righteousness. Righteousness is rightness. Do rightness. Rightness in attitude, rightness in working for the Lord, rightness in getting the right place, all the things. He's calling you in the midst of turmoil. God is still calling people, because we need more people to understand, to have wisdom, to be calm, to be steady, to encourage others, and to break through in the spiritual realm in all this turmoil and conflict that and it could escalate in the world. We need people that can break through. But I want you to cheer up. I want you to get up and cheer up. But I want you to cheer up, not because I'm not even telling you things are going to get better, except he's calling you. And so he did, and Bartimaeus got healed and got his eyes healed and all that. So that part's good. The end is good. But the application is he was that get up, cheer up. He's calling you is a great word for us today as we look to what's going on in the world today. And you tell yourself that, get up, buddy, cheer up. I'm called of God. I'm called of God. I've got a voice. I've got a duty. I've got strength. I can do things. I'm needed in this hour, and that's the good news to you today. Well, I want to encourage you. We're moving ahead, hopefully, in the arena outside the church world. Hopefully soon. There's some good things going on, and the book, If You Only Knew, Guide to the Clueless Generation. There you might be able to see it. You need to get it, and I need to tell you that book is being given to some very important people in the next week or so. By my March 1st, no, February, the end of this month, to some very important people in the country. It's already been given to our Speaker of the House. What is it, Michael Johnson? Yeah, it's already been given to him. So you need to get it. These are people that work outside of the realm and that kind of our mindset. But you need to get. If you only knew, it was free. It was the download was free. But you give free for months, and then finally you say we need to recoup a little bit. But we try to make it very affordable. You need to get it. What is God saying to America today? What is God saying to you today? What do we need to do? What's our attitude? And it's being given to politicians, and I'm not doing it. I'm not the one giving it. Okay, it's others in politics and involved in their life are getting it, and then they're taking it to certain politicians. What'll happen? Who knows? Will they get up and go? Will they cheer up and get up and capture that moment, or will they just read it and it goes in one ear, in their mouth and out, whatever? I don't know. I just want to tell you, if they're reading it and some of them are, then you need to read it too. So I hope you'll get that and soak it in and get caught up to what God's saying to us today in this world and this time. So, what are the word for today? Get up. Come on, get out of whatever you're in. Get up, right? And cheer up. Okay? Cheer up because he's calling you. Now, like my friend, the woman that mentored me for a while, took me under her wing as a better, continued to encourage me. Of course, she's no longer living today. But and then after that, get the mind of Christ, settle on it and say, I got to get the mind of Christ. If you don't feel like you have it, go to other people that you think do and request them to help you figure out what's going on in your life. And then get the mind of Christ because you have access to the mind of Christ, even though you may not know how to operate in it, right? Okay. So that's where get up, cheer up. Why? Because he's calling you. Till next time. Bye-bye.